watching our special broadcast from the site of the International Fair for Trade in Services. Unlock the digital era has been an aspiration for business leaders around the world. But how to achieve that when there are other top concerns, such as the global pandemic and the ever more complex geopolitics? I asked that question to Sharon Thorne, who is the chairwoman of the Deloitte Global Board of Directors. She also shares her insight about China's reform and opening up in the financial sector and its impact for global companies. Take a look at my exclusive interview with Sharon. And now join me in the studio of CGTN, Sharon Thorne, chair of Deloitte Global Board of Directors. Sharon, what a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So tell me more about how do you see the significance of the International Fair for Trade in Services? I know you were supposed to come this year, but difficulties as a result of pandemic. But I know you're very enthusiastic about the cause.
I am, and I'm going to be joining the opening ceremony remotely. But Deloitte is absolutely delighted and excited to be part of the China International Fair for Trade and Services. It's an extremely important event. Not only is it the largest event of its kind in the world, but it's also vital to China's efforts to continue to open up the market, improve the business environment, and expand the opening up of the service industry. And this will help China further promote the transformation and upgrade of its domestic service industry. At the same time, CIFTIS helps to promote a full range of commercial cooperation, which is not only vital for suppliers and purchasers, but also promotes economic and trade exchanges and cooperation between countries. It's great for global trade and world economic growth.
Sharon, you said two important points, if I note it down. One is about the further opening up and reform of the service industry here in China. And I guess Deloitte has a say here because you've been long time participating in the China market. And the other thing is really about increasing the exchanges and cooperation, which is extremely important today if we know the complex situation. Tell me more about to what extent about reform and opening up the service sector that you would like to see, and how you are working with the Chinese side and your colleagues here in China on those issues?
China is a really important market for Deloitte, and it's very important to our global strategy. And so, I said when I became global chair, it was the first, China was the first country I visited, just to emphasize how important it is. And I came twice more before the end of the year. And it's very important that China continues to open up to enable large international companies to continue to invest and be successful there. We recognize China as a major driver of global economic growth. And we believe there's much room for growth in the region for the services that we offer as well. And our strategy is to enhance Deloitte's ability to serve global, national and private market clients in the region by investing in our service capabilities and talent resources. And in doing that, continue to help China, state-owned enterprises, all of your companies to continue to be successful. And it's one of the reasons that we brought all of our geographies in China, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia together to create Deloitte Asia Pacific in September 2018.
And that is a big step, I would think.
It was a big step, but it meant that we are able to really leverage the power of our people across a wide region, and particularly in China, taking the capabilities that we have in China to these other markets. It's been a great move.
Yeah, Sharon, I know that Deloitte is working on unlock the digital future, right? At the same time, you have been pillarizing your businesses into 5 major categories. I learned that because I went to your tent and actually tried to learn a little bit more before I talked to you today. But having said that, though, what specific areas, what specific policies you and your company as a foreign investor and also as a service provider would like to see that you would think could be very encouraging to your presence in China, and also you're using China as a base to reach out to the other parts of Asia Pacific and the world.
As I say, I think it's vital that China continues on the journey of transformation and reform that you've been going on, because that gives global businesses the confidence to continue to invest and to work with you to continue to help China be really successful. And you've had an amazing story over the past few years, and it's important for the global economy that continues, and that we work collaboratively in supporting you.
You talk about cooperation and exchanges. To what extent is China both the market and the potential in the global strategy of Deloitte, Sharon?
There are lots of different elements to our strategy, but the importance of Asia Pacific and particularly China is really, really important. And we've got, part of our strategy is called Tilt to Asia, and investing in China is a critical part of that, because it's the growth engine in Asia Pacific, and it's going to be, we see it as a potential growth engine for us, and to help export the capabilities in China that are very, we have some fantastic capabilities, to take them into the rest of the region, to help clients, continue to be successful and expand.
Sharon, I can tell you have a long list of things to be done and have done already here in China and about China. Congratulations. Having said that, though, you talk about potential. What about the potential? What are some of the industries, as Deloitte, a global company, that you are looking specifically about in order to achieve the potential?
I mean, I think, as part of the economic recovery from COVID, China's economy has been shifting from a high-speed growth economy to high-quality development, and things like new infrastructure, digital transformation, the upgrading of consumption structures, as well as the digital economy, have become the new driving forces of China's economy. And just to give you a few specific examples, so investing in new infrastructure, including 5G, extra high voltage, the industrial internet, big data center, new energy vehicle charging pile, artificial intelligence, and intercity high-speed railway and rail transit. They will help meet the goal of stimulating job creation and prepare for changes in the global economy. And new economic trends are driving new consumption structures such as e-commerce, smart logistics, and internet finance. And China's also a leader in the digital economy, which the pandemic has accelerated. So China is incredibly well placed to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming out of the pandemic, and as we move forward.
You've been talking a lot about your global ambition, global strategy. You also talk about your close partnership with China and beyond. But this is a difficult time for any business leader. I'm sure you know everything what I'm talking about. So what kind of qualities that you think are very crucial these days in order to go through the murky water and always aim high and be proud of who we are and what we are going to do?
So, it's a great question. The world is going through this period of enormous uncertainty, and it's carrying on because the virus, it's just so difficult to control it. And another challenge is that COVID-19 is exacerbating existing inequalities and injustices. And, we continue to face the very serious and increasing threat of climate change, which we haven't had time to discuss. But I would say, as a result of that, and in your introduction, the role of leadership has perhaps never been so important. And two elements are really critical, and that's trust and resilience. And to help leaders navigate this uncertainty, we developed a principles-based framework, which we believe is relevant to leaders in all fields, and it's available through our internet site. And it talks about respond, recover, thrive, so 3 stages. And if you look at resilient leaders, they recognize and reinforce the importance of a number of critical shifts during the recovery period. And there are 5 of them. So moving from today to a tomorrow mindset, And then secondly, identifying and navigating uncertainties and implications and helping the business or the government, whatever area in, get through that. Embedding trust, as I said, that is critical in your people, in employees, in stakeholders, in consumers, whoever it is. Defining what the eventual destination looks like, and then finally adjusting the strategy that's needed to prepare for the future. So, resilient, we're looking for resilient leaders, but also resilient leaders that can build trust. And we see that as absolutely critical.
About climate change, Sharon, I do want to follow up on your answer. We had an earlier international agreement, but now to many's eyes, there seems to be other priorities, quote unquote. And they say, well, we have to wait until the economies are getting better. Then we'll have the time and energy to work on something about the climate change. Others want to withdraw from this international treaty or international agreement. I have a long sigh here because I know you know very well the consequences of all of these. Tell me more about the urgency and whether this will create an opportunity for all of us.
The impact of climate change, we're seeing it more and more. And we saw it with the horrendous fires in Australia. We've seen it with the Amazon fires in Brazil, floods, droughts. I mean, they are increasing in frequency, and the devastation they're causing, it can't be ignored. And you're right that a number of governments are questioning what they're doing, but I think we all have a responsibility. And as companies and individuals, we can all make a big difference. We can step up. And if we all do that, it will put pressure on governments. And, a lot of governments are doing the right thing. It is, the more we can come together as a community and drive change. And there are a lot of activists who are getting this on the agenda, making people focus on it, which we need, to ensure that everyone is focused on it. At Deloitte, we're about to launch very shortly our strategy around climate, which we're calling World Climate, and our commitment to zero emissions, zero carbon emissions by 2030. But also we're going to use what we call our superpower of our people. We have over 330,000 people. And if we can get all of them to really focus on their behaviors and to make even small changes, if everyone does it and if they get their families to do it, it will have an impact. And it has an impact on companies. We're going to ask all of our supply chain to do more. So there are lots of things that companies can do, that individuals can do, that will make a difference. And we can, in doing that, put further pressure on governments to do the right thing.
But this is the time of the pandemic, so some of the whether business groups or political leaders, they are struggling with the priorities. So meanwhile, even for the issue of climate change, there is the emphasis on that, of course, but there's also the emphasis on biodiversity and some of the other issues related to it. So how to prioritize this, once again, is another test for leadership, isn't it?
It is, and it's a really, critically, businesses have to survive. So that has to be the first thing. Can my business survive? What are the things I need to put in place? That was, we talked about the respond phase of the sort of the three phases we talked about. But a lot of companies have been through that. And as they reset for the future, it's really important that they're including climate in that reset. And that, the risks of climate to businesses are very significant. So if they're not addressing them, understanding them, and trying to make a difference, they are not going to survive. And that, businesses and boards, chairs and boards need to play a key role in ensuring that companies are, setting their strategy with climate fully embedded within it.
They say, Sharon, if there's anything, a pandemic that should be teaching all of us human beings, is that we have a small world. When there's problems somewhere, there will be the same problem elsewhere in the world too. Having said that, though, there's another issue I know you are personally very compassionate about, that is the gender parity, especially to encourage women leadership in the global the business world and corporate culture. Of course, there are, once again, priorities, how to make sure these important social issues are not just going to be the hot topics of one time, but rather be part of our conscience and part of our mindset.
No, I think it's a really good way of setting it out, Tian. And the reality is that if we do not have a truly inclusive work culture, then we are losing out on an enormous amount of talent. We are not looking after and motivating our people, and we are not ensuring that the very best rise to the top, because it would be very unusual. You look at organizations who are completely dominated by men at the top. Are we saying that, and particularly if I talk about in the UK, it's white men who dominate leadership roles. Are we saying that they're the best people? They're very talented, but women, people from different minority ethnic backgrounds, people, different sexual orientation and so on, all have an enormous amount to give. And there's a lot of evidence that suggests the greater the diversity you have, the more successful the business will be. And so businesses are being very short-sighted if they're not ensuring that their full breadth of talent has the potential to come through. And it's about, as I say, ensuring that all of your people have the opportunity and a level playing field to achieve their potential. And I was reading a very interesting book over the summer that talks about the importance of cognitive diversity. And that is critical if businesses are going to be successful, that there is real diversity and challenge. The things we're facing are so complex that you can't say that a small group of people have all the answers. You need to be able to access that, the brilliance that you have from your people.
My last question for you. I am confused on a constant basis as to what is the real reality of our world today. We heard one thing, we heard other things. We saw one kind, we also saw the other kind. We were told we were in a Cold War or pre-Cold War, but we were also told, and sometimes encouragingly, that we can jump out of that pit or tragedy. Things are constantly changing. How should we learn? How should we cultivate ourselves and be able to bring the best energy to many around us and beyond?
So it's a really interesting perspective, and I think, for me personally, I look to be myself, to be an authentic leader, to share.
Love that word, authentic leader.
Successes and challenges, and to have integrity and to tell the truth. And that is how I live my life. And I am not perfect. I share the things that I've had problems with, including I suffer from something called imposter syndrome. And when you share things like that with people, it enables them to open up about things that's troubling them. And I think it's this authenticity that is so critical. And one of the interesting things is when you've looked at the response to the pandemic by different governments, how that women who are leaders appear to have done a better job overall in terms of the impact. And it's, it comes back to that diversity point. I think it's really important that we have, a broader leadership team that enables us to respond to these crises more effectively, to have that embedded resilience by having diversity. And women are often more able or feel more comfortable sharing their true selves. And I think the more we do it, the more others do it, and the more we can have, a great environment for everyone to work in.
I would say this is a very sophisticated and a very warm conversation. I didn't expect to have this kind of conversation with a business leader, and there we go. Thank you so much, Sharon. 3 key words I remember now: authenticity, trust, and resilience. Enormous thank you to you for that insight.
Thank you very much.
Sharon Thorne, Chair of the Global Board of Directors with Deloitte. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. In the coming week, we will continue to bring you more interviews and on-site visits on the leading technologies and also the latest exhibits at the site of the China International Fair for Trade and Services. From our special studio of CGTN here, I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching. Bye for now.